Hey guys, Games for Life here, and in today's video we're gonna be building a scrap farm, an automated trade platform, and then I'm gonna add a ton of battery power to our base. We've got the scrap farm and the automated trade platform right behind me. They are not built yet, but we've got all the materials we need right here, and I've got a nice little place flattened out. In the base you might notice some changes from last time. I moved the soil centrifuge from over there to its own platform here. I will replace the smelting furnace with some portable ones. And here we've got our power section. I've added more wind turbines and more RTGs. I've also placed a little byte farm over here, so we get more bytes. And we've got a place for the batteries over on this side. But first we've got to take care of the big stuff. The scrap farm and then the automated trade platform. Now we need a scrap farm because we're gonna be trading a lot here, and it's just a waste of time going around the planet searching for scraps. That's why we need a scrap farm, so we can get basically infinite scrap. All we need to do is put soil into it. And I've heard there's actually a trick for infinite soil as well, so that would be a nice upgrade. But for now we'll focus on the scrap farm, and then of course we're gonna need an automated trade platform because I'm not gonna sit here and just click it on and off all the time. If you only need 10-20 of one material, that's easy, you send the rocket a couple times. But if you need hundreds of specific materials, the automated trade platform will save you a lot of time. And we will need hundreds of stuff. So that's why we need all of this. Now let's start with the scrap farm, because we're gonna need some scrap for the automated trade platform. So we've got 3 extra large platforms C right here. And if this feels overwhelming, don't worry, you can scale this down and do it to your size. Or if you want to scale this up, then go for it. I actually did this but double on our last save, if anyone remembers that from last Xmas. But yeah, we're gonna have 3 soil centrifuges on this platform. This is where we refill the soil for the whole farm. And I need to run back to base and get some oxygen. I'm suffocating. Alright, great, so now we can unpack all of these medium fluid and soil canisters. We will have to fill them up with soil, of course. So we'll use the rover for that. For the next step we're gonna need 3 auto arms. And for each auto arm a medium platform A. Each auto arm will grab the resin from each soil centrifuge, so we can actually go ahead and set these on resin and repeat. But you might be wondering, why are we using resin? That's because we're gonna make small soil canisters with all that resin. The resin will get stored on these medium storages. And then it's time for 6 small printers to turn that resin into the canisters. So we're gonna set all of them to canisters and on repeat. And then we're gonna have another row of auto arms on this side, and these will take the canisters and place them into the shredder. I'm also placing a medium storage in front of every 2 printers, so they can craft the small canisters right onto the medium storage. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, they can craft it on the ground and the auto arms will pick them up, but it's much safer this way. It prevents them from flying off and glitching and bugging and all that stuff. So here we get to probably the most important part of the scrap farm, the shredder. I'm building a pretty large scrap farm here, so I'm gonna use the extra large shredder. I'm gonna have to unlock it first. It's 5000 bytes, so that's no problem. We got it. So now we can go ahead and craft that. While that finishes crafting, we're gonna set up the rest of its platform, which means a ton of stuff to hold our scrap. You've probably noticed there's a medium storage right here, and that's because this will hold our scrap when we enable output on the medium resource canisters. So all the scrap will flow to this section, which means we can have an auto arm grab it for the automated trade platform. And when we are not using the automated trade platform, we can just disable output on all of these, so we can gather tons of scrap. I'm really excited to build the automated trade platform as well. That's a really cool contraption, and it seems like the extra large shredder is almost done. We are so close. Come on. And it's finally done. This took quite a while, so let's go ahead and unpack this. If you don't want the extra large shredder, you can just use smaller ones, and that's okay. Now we're gonna have to plug these all in. And we'll get power to this in just a second, but first we're gonna need some soil as well. I placed some power extenders, so now we've got power to the whole scrap farm. The only thing we are missing is soil, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the rover out for a spin, and then I'm gonna get back with all the soil we need. I'm back with the soil, but before we put that in, we're gonna need to turn the auto arms on. Now here's a really important step you do not want to miss. You need to place items in the selector slots of these auto arms, so they don't grab anything else. So these are only gonna grab resin. Now we can turn them on. These ones are only gonna grab small canisters. Just to make sure, because if something malfunctions here, then the whole farm is just gonna stop. For example, if one of these auto arms grabs the soil canister from one of the soil centrifuges, that soil centrifuge is no longer going to work. Alright, so we can place our soil, and now we're gonna need one small canister for each soil centrifuge. There we go, they are starting to craft resin. I'm gonna wait and see that every step of the way is properly tied up. And for right now, I've disabled output on these canisters, so we can feed scrap into them. But when we have the trade platform going, we're just gonna enable output on these. Alright, we've got the resin. Now we are turning it into small canisters, and we are shredding them. That's working great. I turned this around so we can see it from here. So we are getting scrap. Alright, the scrap farm works. It does require a little bit of power. That's exactly why we're gonna be building batteries by the end of this video. So make sure you've got the power before building this. That being said, let's move over to the automated trade platform. This is a really interesting contraption. You can build this a ton of other ways, but this is the way I like to build it. First things first, we're gonna need the auto arm that's gonna grab the scrap from our scrap farm. We won't turn this on until we have a scrap in the selector slot, just to make sure it doesn't grab anything else. There shouldn't be anything else for it to grab, but just making sure. Okay, we'll connect this to power as well. We'll have the trade platform over here. I'm actually gonna set it on lithium because we're gonna be needing lithium for the batteries. In between this auto arm that gets scrap and the trade platform, we are gonna have first one medium platform A. And this one's really important. And then we're gonna have another auto arm here. And we'll need one scrap for these two. There's an interesting thing you need to be aware of here. First, we'll need another scrap to put in the hand of the auto arm. So this one needs an extra scrap here. Okay, now this auto arm will have to be turned on, and this one will have to be turned off. If you do it backwards, it just won't work properly. So make sure you do it this way. And don't forget about this scrap right here, that's really important. Now we are getting to sensors, so we're gonna need a storage sensor and a count repeater. Place the storage sensor on this medium platform A, right here. This is basically gonna send an impulse every time the platform gets filled or gets drained. And I'm gonna have the count repeater over here on the ground. Now we need to connect the storage sensor to the first auto arm, then to the second auto arm, and then to the count repeater. Now connect the count repeater to the trade platform, and make sure it's connected to the trade platform and not the platform underneath it. So connect it to the trade platform just like that. Depending on the resource we're gonna use, we'll decide how much scrap we need. For trading lithium, we will use 8 scrap at a time, which means we are gonna set this to 8. But if let's say we were trading for hematite, we would only use 6 scrap at a time, so we would set this to 6. And you can see how this is modular and works for any type of resource you want. But right now I'm gonna set this to 8 for the lithium, and 8 means it's gonna send the trade platform off when it has 8 scrap on it. That's pretty much it. If we want to turn this on, all we need to do is enable output on these canisters, so the scrap gets fed here. This auto arm puts it on this platform. When this is filled, the other auto arm activates, takes it away. And now once it's empty, this one gets turned off and this one gets turned on again. Now it says 4 ticks and we've got 4 scrap on here. It will do that all the way to 8. You can see 5 and we've got 5 scrap. That works seamlessly and you can use this for any resource you want. Once it gets to 8, the trade platform gets sent off and it's gonna come back with some lithium. Now while the trade platform is not here, the whole thing will just stop because it doesn't have a place to put the scrap. Okay, now we get to the part where we store our lithium. So we're just gonna have one of these platforms with some canisters on it. You can use whatever you want for this section, but I decided to go with these canisters. So now I'm gonna take a lithium and put it in the selector slot here, and then this is just gonna go and store the lithium over here, and we're gonna disable output on just one of these canisters for now. This will keep going indefinitely until we get all the lithium we want, or until we run out of soil, which will happen eventually, but we've still got some scrap reserves here. And the trade platform is away once again, which means we're getting more lithium. And just like that, we will get a ton of lithium here. I don't know why it wants to store it there and then sends it here. That's weird. We've already got 16 zinc, so I'm just waiting for the 16 lithium. And then we can start crafting our 16 batteries. The automated trade platform is still gonna keep going. I've gathered some more soil too. And we can start crafting those batteries. So we'll enable output on this, and then set the small printer on repeat. And we should have all our batteries in no time. We got all 16 batteries crafted, so let's go ahead and unpack them. And they're already filling up nicely. We've got all this wind power going on plus the RTGs. And we are gonna need all that power because the scrap farm and the automated trade platform consume quite a bit. But I'm so glad we got this build. Now we're gonna have a much easier time getting all the resources we need. And that means we don't have to worry about the base anymore. So in the next video we're gonna be unlocking the gates and the core of Glacio. You will wanna stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. That way you'll make sure you don't miss any upcoming videos, and it also helps me out a lot, so thank you for doing that. I've been Games for Life and I'll see you next time. Cheers, Astroneers!